Alrighty, you guys. We got CEO, good vibes, Noah Susong, fellow Austinite now,
Yes, sir.
um, here to talk about some cool things that he's done since getting into the high ticket sales space. Noah, thank you for coming on.
Absolutely, dude. Thanks for having me, Dylan. I appreciate it.
So, if you guys have watched any of the recent YouTube stuff, you may recognize this guy. He's him and a group of other hooligans moved down here to Austin, Texas after
Yep.
figuring out this remote sales stuff. And it's been cool having these guys a part of the content and just like the day to day. But we were just talking about it before we turned on the recording. You, upon joining the community, I actually don't even remember off the top of my head, how long ago did you join?
Yeah, I joined like right in the beginning of July, like July 2nd.
Okay,
That's the exact date it was.
July 2nd. So you had just graduated school, right?
Yeah. So I graduated from university in May up in Iowa. So I'm originally from Iowa, had never been down to Texas. And I was running an email marketing agency for a little under a year just because I had transitioned from a college baseball player into just a regular student. So I always wanted to get into some sort of business, some type of just like entrepreneurship journey because like I was so like athletic mindset and I never knew how to run business. Had no business acumen whatsoever. So out once I graduate or once I got to the University of Iowa, I started like a little clothing brand. That's why I'm always kind of known as like the good vibes guy because that's kind of what it was all about. It was just like good vibes. The good vibes guy was selling t-shirts and sweatshirts and didn't really go anywhere beyond that besides just a couple drops, but then got into I got into email marketing, which I had actually what's funny is I'd known about you in like high ticket sales while running that email agency just because I'd been on money Twitter kind of
Yeah.
pocket watching, you could say, for a little bit of time. And so pretty much just ran that was took me a while to even get a client. It took me like 4 months to get a client, dude. It was so brutal, but it was fun and I learned a whole lot. And so kind of just fast forward to May, I graduated college, took like this summer business course with my school and really was just like on the edge of like, do I want to continue doing this? I had like 8 clients. I was white labeled with a buddy of mine that I had met. And I basically was like, okay, I love business. I love selling my product, but I hate fulfilling because I was just like sitting in coffee shops for like 10 hours a day, designing emails on Figma, copywriting all these emails. And I was like, dude, I don't want to do this anymore. I'm just way too extroverted to sit here and talk to nobody all day. And so that's when I was like, you know what? I need to do something different. And I remember giving you a follow on Instagram and me and you were chatting back and forth. And I was like, all right, let's see what this serial sales community thing is all about. Cause I'd seen it before. I'd seen different communities, but I was never like, oh, I'm going to go and join one of these communities and see what this is like. But fast forward to about July, I was like, you know what, let's give this a shot. Cause I decided I'm like really going to go heavy on sales and go in for it. And I realized what's the fastest way to get me from point A to point B on an offer? I could either do the cold outreach, do all the freaking DMs like I had been doing for client acquisition for my business, or I could fast forward it, get into a place where I need to be, have the network, have the people who have all the network as well, and just fast forward my success. And so joined the community in July and then just from there just started stacking things, and I guess we can go into a little bit more on that, but that's kind of the journey. So graduated in May, ended up taking a couple months just running a business, and then decided to go all in on high ticket.
Yeah. You said you joined July, and then our meetup was in September. I think it was September.
Yep.
And you came to the meetup, and there was a lot of people there. It was a good time. And that is that when you said you kind of realized like, dude, I gotta get around people doing this. Like, well, one, Austin's a cool place, but two, just being around these guys was really cool, and I want to keep that going. Like, what was it that made you pull the trigger on like moving to Austin and getting surrounded with more like-minded people?
Yeah, great question. So I'd been on an offer for like a month and a half, 2 months, and I was like, you know what? I need to find a way just to expand my network as fast as possible. And so I was like, if I'm gonna do this and get into a community, I'm gonna go all the way. So you were selling tickets to the event, and I was like, I'm going. I have to go. I have to go meet these people. And I was kind of the guy who was like the squeaky wheel in the DMs when I first joined the community, because I was like, I'm not going to just sit around and watch everybody. I'm going to go apply for jobs, but I'm also going to go and like introduce myself to these people in the community as well. Because I'd met some people on the live calls, but then I wanted to just get my name out there as well. Because I had confidence in myself, like I can go and do this. And so I met a bunch of cool people. And shout out to David Hess, actually, because I hit him up and he was like, yo, we have an Airbnb. And if you want, you can stay at it and we'll be all be at the event. And I was like, yeah, like that would be dumb to not do that, to get around these other guys who are pretty successful in the space. And so fast forward to the event, got down to Austin, and I went into it with such an open mind. I was like, I just want to come here. I want to meet Dylan. I want to meet people who have been in this space for quite some time and see what this is truly all like. And after the first day, I remember it was like a paradigm shift just like snapped in my brain. I was like, okay, these people are making real money. They're doing cool things in the online money space. And I want to be a part of that. And I knew that my network up in Iowa, just the people who I was surrounded with, I was not going to be able to really truly flourish just through like an online connection, because we get so caught up in this Zoom space all the time where it's like, yeah, you can meet each other on Zoom, but like when you have that personal feel connection, it is a different ball game. And so at that event, just meeting every single person, I was like, this is where I feel like I need to be. And honestly, after the first day, I was sold. I was like, I'm going to continue to enjoy this. But it's so funny because after the event, I called my mom and I told her, I said, Mom, I'm moving to Austin, Texas. I love you, but this is what I'm doing. And she literally just started laughing and she's like, I knew that's what you were going to say. And if you want to do it, go do it. And that was like what solidified it. And literally a week later, I signed a lease and here we are now.
Uh, did you have confidence, or the some of the other boys had moved here just before the meetup or just after? I can't remember, but you ended up in the same complex as some of our now like buddies here.
Yeah.
Um, did that, like them moving across the country, influence you a little bit? You think?
Oh, 100%. I remember you put in the group chat and put in the chat just like the new Setter House boys. It was Cam and Diego. And I was like, this is awesome. Like, I want to be a part of this because I feel like everybody needs to have that tribe of people. And I was like, I want to be a part of something like that. I want to truly see what I can do in life and I want to be a part of that. And so I like, and it was super cool because me and Cam have a mutual friend. He played football at St. Thomas with a dude that I went to high school with. And so I remember I found that out at the event and I was like, oh my gosh, like we have mutual connections. This is cool. Was meeting everybody. And I was like hanging out with Cam and Diego for a bit. And they're like, dude, you should move here. And I was just like, you know what? Why not? I'm young. I can have I can do it. Let's just take the risk. Let's do it.
Yeah, it seems like it worked out pretty well. I mean, we're here, so it worked out pretty well so far. And then
Yeah.
I asked you the other day, are you plan on moving back ever? Well, I didn't say ever, but like plan on moving back anytime soon? You're like, no, dude, I love it
Nope.
here.
No, no way.
um,
Austin's
so
amazing.
up until this point, man, you've been on in the same team for a little while now, and you worked up from appointment setter, doing well there, like starting to make some solid cash, and then into closing. Um, what was your experience like getting? Actually, I can't even remember. Was that the first role that you had accepted, or if it wasn't, like what was your experience getting to that role?
Yeah, dude, it's crazy. And like this is where I always say like your network is so important because I did a DM setting role for about 2 to 3 weeks, made a little bit of money, got some experience just with the space, got on a phone setting offer with a fitness role, was doing that for about a month. And so I got a referral from one of the persons in the community, and I'll just put his name out there. Like David Hess hit me up. He's like, "Yo, our offer is hiring. I don't think you're experienced enough, but I do think you're a good culture fit." And this is where I say it's so important to, even if you don't think you have the experience, you need to have the conviction and confidence that you can still step up and be that person that's capable of working with a high level team, because they were doing $1 million months. And I was like, dude, I haven't been in this space that long, but let's do it. Let's just go and try and get an interview.
Yeah.
Ended up getting an interview, crushed the interview. I got a call the next day that I was hired. And I was like, wow, like it just like solidified. Like it doesn't matter if you go into an interview with conviction and confidence and sell yourself. Just because you don't have the actual experience, sell yourself. If somebody sees something in you and knows that you could mold into that person that they want on their sales team, I'm sure as hell you will get the role as long as you have that conviction. And so ended up getting on a really good offer just from a network connection. And from there I was like, let's just put my head down, let's just work like a dog. And ended up being the top setter for like 4 months at an offer that was, doing multiple $1 million months, multiple months in a row. And so it was super cool. And then, went from setting to then hybrid, was closing, started closing deals. And it was like a very, very fast, like shift in time frame. It went from just like no experience to like closing on a really good high leverage team.
Yeah. What was that like? I know on that team in particular, and some of these larger teams, depending on how many people they have,
Yeah.
setting can be a grind. And I know you were grinding, like
Yeah.
you weren't at the gym at 2 p.m. and coffee shop at 10. Like
Yeah.
you were grinding, bro, working hard as you should in sales. Um, but like moving from setter to closer, like what was that like as far as kind of just time, like control over your time, leverage over the money you make? Like what were some of the biggest differences there for you?
Well, obviously, like as a full time setter, if you have KPIs for dials, we had a pretty high KPI for dials. So it's like you don't really get to choose your schedule. Like you can, but like what times you need to be dialing. Like it's pretty much, mornings, and then a lot, mid afternoons, evening-ish time when people are on their phones. And so when I got the role to switch into a little bit more hybrid, it was like, okay, I can structure my calendar to where I have open times for closing calls, but then I have dial blocks to where I can just know, okay, I got to dial at this time, got to dial at this time. So it was a nice switch. But I'll say the hybrid role is not easy to do at a high level, especially if you want to crush setting, but then crush closing too, because setting and closing, it's like a nurse and a doctor. The nurse is the setter, the doctor is the closer, but like you got to be able to switch back and forth with that while maintaining admin. And so I will say, like, I still was like, holy moly, my calendar is crazy, just because you got to make sure you're really wanting to perform if you're on a good team. And so, but it was nice to be able to have a little bit more leverage on my calendar and free up a little bit of time for myself.
Yeah. I know actually I don't know what the price point was, but of your offer, I figure it's like 8, 10,
It
12.
was 12K.
Yeah. So as a closer, are you getting like 10% commission?
So it was super cool. We had pretty much like a base commission. So how it was, if it was a PIF, it was 10%. But then even if it was a payment plan, we were getting $900. So like
Yeah.
I could do a 6 pay, and it's like that's 2K revenue, but I get $900. So it was like they treated the sales reps really well.
Yeah. Yeah. As soon as you unlock that, you just know that's possible. And then you become the guy that, you have like the track record to back you up. So, you can go and do that somewhere else if you ever needed to.
Yeah.
Um, I mean, it's a pretty powerful feeling. I remember when I felt that because I came in from roofing sales and I was going through that hurdle of trying to get into this new industry. Like I had skill or whatever, but a lot of people didn't want to take a bet on me because of the industry. And so now, like, well, when I got there and now you being there, you kind of have it as a fail safe, right? Like you can go somewhere and make $8,000 per month closing. One, because of the network, but then the skill, the resume, everything combined. So we can kind of, I guess, like dive into what is next. So recently, you've stepped away from that team and like had. Seems like you're on good terms still. They just had an
Oh
event
yeah.
here that you guys were, or you were, pulled up to. I don't know what they did or where they did it, but I know I heard that you were at their event.
We were hanging
Um,
out a little bit.
and now you're kind of like stepping away to focus on doing your own things, like building your brand, potentially software here with a mentor. Like it seems like
Yep.
there's a lot of stuff cooking. Um, can you talk about that a little bit, like the peace of mind that you have this kind of fallback if needed, and it lets you kind of take like bigger swings on that kind of stuff?
Yeah, dude, that's a great question. So that's like one thing is now like there's proof of concept. It's like now I know that I can do this. I can close deals. I can set deals. Like I have the skill set to be able to actually sell a product. But what's beautiful about it too is like it's just like been such an awesome journey because now I have the network from somebody like yourself who's started this community where people are together and you can have that to rather than having to go search all the time for a job. It's like if you need a role, your network is always there for you because people are always hiring. So you just have to go ask. You have to go see what's out there. But then also like taking that risk opens you up to so many new opportunities too. Like if I never took a risk to come down to Austin, Texas, I would have never opened myself up to different opportunities to be able to try and go and dive in on a passion project of mine that I want to go in on. What's also nice too is I grinded my butt off to be able to get some funds to have a little cushion. So now I can live on my own. I have fallback to where I can go and pursue some things because when you're young, you have that opportunity to do it. So why not do it when you're young? And so that's what's really pretty and beautiful about just this whole space is there's always going to be a role. You know, obviously it might not be a dream role, but nobody goes into business like I want to be a high ticket closer for the rest of my life. They go into it to acquire the skill set, get the network, get great quick cash. It's an awesome form of great cash flow. But then it's like once you get the skill set and if you have the opportunity, you can go down a different route. And so really where I'm going down right now is just trying to focus on my personal brand, really build up some passion projects with some branding things of mine that I do have so much conviction in. And the thing is if they fall and I fall flat on my face, I have people like yourself and others in my network where I can go and get another role if I needed to.
Yeah. So that being said, like in the hypothetical situation you had to start over, if you were to start over, um, and knowing what you know now, you had to do it in like 60% of the time or 70% of the time, what would you do differently? Or what would you do, well, yeah, differently, but like more of, less of, to get where you are now or get where you have gotten to just faster?
Well, one, I'm joining a community right away. I mean, that's going to open that opens up the floodgates. You need a network. And sometimes people are always like, "No, I don't want to like pay for something to get into a room." But it's like, you know what? Like sometimes you have to if you're a little fish in a big pond, you got to kind of pay to get into the rooms with the bigger people to just open yourself up. So, I would get into a community. I would absolutely just be put the ego aside and say, "I'm here. I want to get here. I need to just be willing to learn. I need to be open to connections and I need to absolutely grind my butt off. And whether or not you have to make a financial commitment towards something, go do it because it's going to open you up to new opportunities. And so I would say join a community, get around people who are in the same space and get around people who are where you want to be, not where you're at, but where you want to be. Because I remember always seeing you, I'm like, dude, I want to get to where like that is. And so you need to get around those types of people. And if you can find out a way to do that, go do it and do it fast.
Yeah. Yeah. I always tell people that too, man. It's like you technically don't need to do that. But if you don't want it to take a really long time, you don't want to have a lot of room for error and then burn out and then it just doesn't work out,
Yep.
like why not just decrease the odds that this doesn't work? Like use the assets that you have readily available to make this more likely. uh,
Yeah,
so
absolutely. And dude, you get it. Time is money. Time is money. So if you can really shrink down that time frame rather than taking a year to find a good offer, if you can get into a door that it takes you 4 months to get on a good offer, you've just made so much more money and you've saved so much time and effort as well.
yeah, shoot, dude, I wish we had more time. Speaking of time, I got a community call here to jump into, so let's see. Where can the people find you? I'll link it below, but
Yeah.
let them know.
Yeah, you can find me on Twitter. It's going to just be my name, Noah Susong. You can also find me on Instagram, Noah_Susong. So it's literally just my name with an underscore. Dude, go follow. I got some cool things cooking. Me, Dylan, and all the other boys, we pretty much stay active on social media with what we're doing. So also, if you guys are ever thinking about moving down to Austin, hit me up, hit Dylan up. Let us know. We would love to welcome you with open arms. And if you are ever just like feeling like you need to make that next step and take a risk, do it. Do it. I did it. Obviously, I'm not where I want to be yet, but I have made years worth of progress in a short amount of time because I surrounded myself with people like Dylan.
Sweet. I appreciate you coming on, man.
Absolutely, brother. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, for sure. If you guys want to reach Noah, down below, description, catch the vibes.
Let's
Coming to
go.
you every morning, pretty much.
That's right,
And
baby.
see you guys inside.